We're going to do an activity that involves a fictional trial. We're going to wrap it all around a story, do some more story time. And you guys are going to do some more talking and some sharing. And hopefully by the end of this activity, you'll at least have a pretty good idea of how issues can end up before the Supreme Court. I mean, right now, how many of you think you know that process really well about cases we hear and why? Maybe you have some idea as to what might end up here, or how some of those cases ended up here before this court, those that came before this court. Okay, right now, all of you have some kind of information in front of you. If you're not sitting, you've got this panel to read. So for about the next 2 minutes, I want you to read what's in front of you, or read this panel, and sort of commit the basics of it, you know, to memory at least, or to kind of grasp what's on your panel. And again, if you're not sitting in something, read that.
Everybody have a chance to read their panel?
Yep.
We need someone to, I can tell you're giving me the big sign no, in terms of the backstory, the setup.
Somebody who read that panel who's willing to share with the group.
You read the first part.
You read that too?
Just the event, that's all I'm reading.
Well, why don't we let one of these guys back here?
Can't see it. All right. Basically, what happened is they were going to the prom, and him and his date, Hank and Haley are the people involved. They decided to share a nice bottle of whatever in the car before they went. He pulled out of the school lot. An off-duty policeman's directing traffic. He tells the kid to stop. The kid panics, hits the gas, and runs over the police officer's leg or foot. And then the prosecutor said that the kid intentionally hit the officer, therefore he should be tried in an adult court instead of a juvenile court. And the judge agreed with him and said that yes, he should be tried as an adult because he intentionally ran over the officer.
Okay, so there you have the backstory, and we're now in court. We're in Common Pleas Court, and Hank is being charged with a first-degree felony, assault on a police officer, and he's looking at 10 years. 10 years in prison. Now, who runs the courtroom? What's the... What's the judge do?
Runs the court.
Runs the court. How does he run the court?
Gives both sides an equal opportunity to present their information, and then, something like that.
Okay. Follow the rules. What role does the judge play in terms of with the selection of the jury?
He's got to be sure that that there are people who can decide the case impartially.
Okay. Okay. So that it's a fair jury, fair juror members. So now the prosecution has brought this case. First of all, just tell us what the prosecutor. What does the prosecutor do? If you want, you can read from the panel, but tell us what the prosecutor does.
We pretty much try to put the person in jail, pretty much, and like shit. Go ahead.
Members of the government.
Yeah.
And must convince the jurors that Hank violated the law. The Ohio.
Okay. All right. the defense. What's your, tell us what your role is.
To try to keep him out of jail.
That's part of it, but you have to do that by, what's your ultimate goal here in terms of how are you going to keep him out of jail?
To convince the jury that,
Go ahead.
to convince the jury that he ain't guilty of the crime. That he's innocent.
Actually, that he's not guilty. Who has the burden of proof here? Who is responsible? I'll tell you what, Hank, why don't you read your section, or tell us tell us what you're doing here and tell the court.
Well, basically, it's not Hank's job to prove that he's innocent. It's the prosecution's job to prove that I'm guilty.
And why is that?
It's because there's a law in our United States Constitution that says I'm innocent until proven guilty, and I'm not guilty until proven innocent.
Very good. That is the bedrock. That is the bedrock. Excellent. So now the jurors, what are you doing here? What is your role?
Prove Hank guilty.
To prove Hank guilty. That's your
To
role.
listen to both sides of the story and decide which one is more plausible.
Excellent. Listen, that's key. Okay, so now we drive the story forward, and so you've got to present your case. What exactly is your case? To prove your point to the jury? What are the points? What's your argument?
Okay, Officer Allen, yes, he was an off-duty police as a police officer, and it makes his case a serious offense, a first-degree felony, and we decided that Hank's car was a deadly weapon, and that he knew he was causing the police officer harm. Yes, and he was drinking.
Okay. Forgot a very key player here, the court reporter. What's the role? Why is the court reporter important in the whole process?
The court reporter basically writes down everything that happens in the session or meeting, and if the verdict of the jury is taken to appeals court,
Right.
then the judges of appeals court will have to be able to look at what the court reporter has written to be able to understand it.
Exactly. So, key critical player. Now, you've outlined the points of your case. How are you going to continue to push that? How are you going to, again, convince them? What's your next step? Who's going to help you tell your story? I mean, you've made these charges, but what's your next step?
We're going to get Officer Allen in here.
And he's going to be...
He's going to question.
That's correct. Okay. I can't recall your Officer Allen? Okay. So, Officer Allen, what does Officer Allen tell the court during the questioning?
That I was an off-duty call, and I was the traffic person. And when they were leaving the lot, I told them to stop, and they sped up, and I tried to jump out of the way, but they ran over my foot.
Okay. What else? What about the final paragraph? Wait a second here. Read one question. Well, read that section. I mean,
Read the section or just tell it so?
well, we got that far. This is the last graph.
Yeah, just read that again. Read that out loud. That'll help sum it up.
Mr. Allen's testimony is important. By stating that he was wearing his uniform, he strengthens the prosecution's argument that he should be considered as an officer, even if he actually was off duty. He also acknowledges he contracted directly with